Should there be a jingle like ding 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 ding
No.
ding 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 ding?
I can't edit that out. That's too funny. That stays. Hello, welcome to Cowl Fans Podcast, the home of casual Overwatch League fans. I am your host, Allura Moore.
And I'm Howler, the co-host. Am I technically a co-host?
I don't know. We decided to do this yesterday. So, you get what you get today. Episode 0.
Zero. So,
we're going to talk about Overwatch League
yes.
in particular, not Overwatch in general.
No.
Okay? So this is for the fans who want to be fans, but who are like, watching Monty and Thorin's hour-long podcast is crazy. Why would we do this to ourselves? Which you should watch. It's very entertaining.
Very good.
But it also has a little bit of language, and so maybe you want to watch with your kids and you want to bring your whole family into Overwatch. We want that to be possible with you. So here we are to help you get your whole family into the thing that you love.
That's Overwatch.
That's Overwatch.
League.
Before we get started on anything in particular, I want to make sure to remember to thank the First Baptist Church Christian Academy, which I will never say the entire name of again. They have lent us the usage of their studio for free, and our budget is 0, so that was perfect.
Yes.
Perks of working here, I suppose. But so we get to use their studio, so we're coming live at you from the First branded studio
For our inaugural episode.
Yeah, and we're not live, also, so I'm a liar. Because
we are not live. It is
this is gonna
not
be uploaded
gamer
later.
time.
It's not
gamer time.
It is 7:30 in the morning, so this is early mornings for us.
Yes.
Well, it's early mornings for him.
He's got coffee. I don't drink coffee, so all I have is hype. Pure, unfiltered hype.
Okay, all right. So let's get into our match of the week. What's your match of the week this week from
this
tough.
Past
week?
This was tough because this week had a ton of good matches.
It did.
Lots of map 5s. We had that one day that went until like 2:30 in the morning because of how many map 5s there were. But if I had to choose one, I think it would be the Hangzhou Spark versus the LA Valiant.
Okay, now I didn't get to see that match. That was one of the last matches of the day.
Okay, yes.
On Thursday.
Yes.
And I had work on Friday morning. So
tell
us why that was so interesting for us casuals.
This was a really good match. So Hangzhou Spark, as you know, is a new expansion team. And then the LA Valiant are the old guard, one of the inaugural season teams. They were the champions of the Pacific region. They had that first slot for the Pacific division, got that bye week into the playoffs, which, we all know how that went. But, so this is a team that's always known for their teamwork. No individual ever really stood out on this team, right? This was just a team that had very good team play, very good positioning.
Right.
In this meta, this happens to be a meta that's all about teamwork and positioning. So, LA Valiant, you're expecting them to look good. Hangzhou Spark, on the other hand, this is a team with a lot of individual talent, but pieced together with some different areas. You have Gu Shui as a Chinese tank on a team of mostly Korean players with the X6, which is a contenders team from South Korea.
Right.
They won Contenders Season 1.
Right, so some minor league players have jumped up to the majors here.
Exactly.
Mostly Koreans. Mm-hmm. And then you've got Gu Shui, this Chinese guy.
This Chinese main tank, who you might have seen in the World Cup if you had a chance to watch that. And then there's also a guy named Crystal, also on the Chinese World Cup team. We haven't seen him play yet, but there were some questions about how is this team going to communicate. Seemingly their best players are their Chinese players. How good are these Korean players? Because they've always been fine, but never really were ever considered the top of their game. Even when they won Contenders, no one was like, dang, this team's good.
Gotcha.
So there were a lot of questions, and this ended up being a really close match. There was a lot of explosive play from the Hangzhou Spark going towards the more calculated contender, the LA Valiant. So it was a very interesting matchup. It was very close, very back and forth. Ultimately went to a map 5 where the Hangzhou Spark were barely able to squeak ahead.
Right. So they came out on top of the Valiant, right?
Yes, yeah,
Right.
the
That's
Hangzhou
okay.
Spark went 2-0 this week.
Which is a big deal. We had a lot of new teams,
Mm-hmm.
brand new expansion teams,
Yeah.
come out on top of our existing teams.
They looked good.
So there's a lot of everybody said that the power rankings at the beginning of the season weren't going to matter.
Right.
They were right.
They were definitely right.
They were right. None of the power rankings matter.
Mine were
So there.
decent. Just plug in that.
Oh, okay, Monty. His exact things on his podcast the other day. He said, "Well, none
Like
of my
within
people moved
6,
by
right?
like 6."
They were all within 6. I had 2 really bad ones.
It was ridiculous.
Totally overrated London, totally underrated Paris.
Wow.
But otherwise,
Wow. And a lot of people are saying Paris is only good because of this tank-heavy meta. So
and that probably is.
that's probably the truth.
But I think there's a lot to talk about in that regards as well, in that these teams that are mostly formed of prior just contenders players who have been playing GOATs the past 6 months are looking way better than we expected, and the Overwatch League teams aren't quite hitting that level of GOATs we expected them to going into this first week.
Well, my match of the week is actually the other Spark match versus Chengdu.
Okay.
Just because, for me, I watched the train wreck of the Dragons last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me sad. And I didn't even care about the Dragons. It still made me sad.
Did the Spark play Chengdu?
It's the
Or are you talking about the Charge?
The Charge played the Chengdu.
The other Joe, not the
Ugh.
Hangzhou, the Guangzhou Charge.
I'm so confused.
That was a very good match.
That was a very good match.
We watched that together.
Yes. Chengdu only played 1 game this week, and it was against the Charge.
The Guangzhou
Oh
Charge.
my gosh, I'm never gonna. First day on a podcast, bombed it. Everybody go home. No, so after watching Shanghai fall to pieces last year,
Yes.
not pick any of what was the miraculous youngsters roster, which everybody touted as the best team in China by
A
far.
really good Chinese roster was taken into the Koreans.
Right, and so they had this meh Chinese roster of no names that did terribly. They turned it into a Korean team, and now it's basically a Korean team this year again. And so are our other 2, Guangzhou and Hangzhou, are basically Korean teams with a Chinese guy or 2 thrown in there. And then here comes Chengdu and says, nah, we're going to be the Chinese team. We're going to make our logo a panda.
Yep.
And we're going to do an all-Chinese roster. And they pulled it out. The Charge played 2 games this past week. I don't remember who they were against. But
both these teams actually only played 1 game.
Did the
So they're in this little weird microcosm, because that was a weird match.
Was it? I got to look at my schedule.
That was in a week of goats. Chengdu versus Charge? It's crazy.
It was crazy.
DPS everywhere.
So, that's fair. Anyways, the point being that this Chinese roster came up against an basically Korean roster, came out on top of a roster that, honestly, people expect the Guangzhou and the Hangzhous to be about in similar relationship to one another, as far as I could tell.
Everyone had a lot of high expectations for the Hangzhou, and then Guangzhou Charge generally sat near the bottom of the table, maybe a little bit higher, but most people had Chengdu dead last, or with bottom 3.
Right.
In most people's.
I don't think Chengdu's going to be a
Bala
bottom
Mel
3.
for not doing that.
What?
Shout out to Balamil. Don't know if you know who he is.
I don't.
He's a writer. Good
I've seen his
podcast as
name.
well. Tactical Crouch.
Oh, I've seen that.
Recommend that.
Yeah. Sure. So yeah, I'm just excited to see a Chinese team show up, face off with some Koreans, and actually look like they can face off with the rest of the league. I mean, and we'll see how they actually pair up against somebody who's determined to run a tank.
Yeah, because these were just 2 teams that played a lot of DPS, and we haven't seen much success. But Ameng's Hammond looks insane. They have some really good DPS. So they had some really creative plays, too. If you remember, the way they totally won that match was they had it was on Nepal's Sanctum. So that's the one that has the little, like, gazebo in the middle with the little statue you can go around. So they had just lost, I believe it was their Reinhardt.
I think that's Shrine.
Is
Sanctum
that Shrine?
is the inside
right,
one.
Sanctum's the one where you could fall in the pit.
Right.
So this is Shrine. So they just got 99% to 0, and they lost a team fight. They were just going into what you'd assume is an eco push. You're probably going to build up to that big 6. You've got 100% to do it.
Sure.
Just try to force some ults out. They end up losing their Reinhardt pretty early on. They don't even get to the, I think they lost their Rein. They lose one of their members for certain. And so they start to pull back. And so Guangzhou Charge wants to get as many picks as they can as Chengdu tries to retreat to spawn, particularly get the Zarya, because one of the biggest advantages you can have in a GOATS meta is having a fully charged Zarya on your side against a no-charged Zarya on the other.
Right.
So they're trying to push in and get that Zarya. So they run out the main choke and then veer to the left. And on this map, there's a little room where there's a mega health pack.
Right.
Probably don't use it too often. But so most of the team starts running to spawn, except for Late Young, their Zarya player, veers into this little room. And then the Charge start chasing everyone who's going to spawn. As they're doing that, they didn't realize Late Young dipped when they couldn't see him into the side room. He grabs the wall. And they just wipe out the team.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
There are people.
And they win the game.
It was amazing. It was awesome. It was really great. If you're into going back and watching old matches, it was a lot of fun. It was just so much fun.
That's a fun, good match to watch. Might not tell you much about the meta.
No.
But you'll enjoy yourself.
Yeah, it'll be lots of fun. All right, so that. Cool. So, let's talk about London.
Yes.
London went 0-2 as the reigning champions from last year against the runner-up, understandable.
Yes.
Understandable. And Paris, less understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Paris has only 1 or 2 Overwatch League veterans. Paris has lots of players that many people were like, meh, oh no. Sure, they got into World Cup.
Especially me.
Right. Sure, they got into World Cup. Are they really that good? And all the analysts out there are basically saying, London can't run GOATs. London can't run 3-3.
Nope.
And that's all Paris can run, probably, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
If that meta changes, EU has always been tank heavy. So as soon as the meta changes, I imagine Paris is going to
just
really
keep
fizzle
running
out.
GOATs.
Probably.
Or they're going to keep running variations of GOATs and try to beat teams who aren't as good, but probably won't be on top.
So, I mean, it's got to feel bad to be a London fan right now.
It's a rough week 1 for sure. I know I had some disappointments. I am not a London fan.
Sure.
Anyway, I was rooting for Philly in the grand finals.
Me too.
But I'm a main tank player. Right?
Sure.
So, in the world of main tanks, in my eyes, nobody's better than Gesture. His Winston, maybe the best in the world, undisputably top 3. His Orisa, undisputably the best in the world. The things he did in the playoff run that they had, no one even came close.
Sure.
Gesture is supposed to be the pinnacle of main tank play.
Sure.
And I just figured
But it's a tank meta.
And it's a tank meta.
So he already.
And we had never seen his Reinhardt, but like the way he was able to adapt to Orisa and then take it to a place we'd never seen, surely if he knew he was coming into a Reinhardt meta, I thought, he's just going to grind out Reinhardt and we're suddenly going to see a very good Reinhardt. He just never had a chance or a reason to show it off up until this point. Nope. Just gets bullied.
It was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough.
I don't know how to feel about it. It's crazy. They were one of the few teams, like a lot of matches went close. I think both their matches were 3-1s. Their Sombra Goats looked good. Guard, their new pickup, looks really amazing. They were running a lot of comps where they would take out their diva.
Right.
In fact, I think they had Fury on Zarya.
Well, and when they weren't running a real 3-3, when they ran their Sombra, when they ran their other variations on the comps, they looked way better.
They dominated
than when they did 3-3. Oh yeah. So but then they kept going back to 3-3 because 3-3 is what's supposed to be working, but they can't make it work.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, London's always been a team that had hard carries, right? And this is a meta that's a lot harder to hard carry, except for maybe outside like really good Reinhardts who get a lot of Earth Shatters, which apparently gesture we can't be expecting of him.
Sure.
But especially we have Prophet on Brigitte. I really wish they didn't do this. I wish that, because a lot of teams, I get it, like they're running their hit scan players as their Zaryas, and
Sure.
then they're running their flex DPS as their Brigittas. But you have Prophet on your team. Possibly best DPS player in the world. Maybe Carpe is the only other person in that conversation.
Okay.
Put your carry onto Zarya. Let Bird Ring set up plays on Brigitte and support the team and do that. But I feel like Prophet needs to be the one on their Zarya. Not that Bird Ring's not good, but Bird Ring's pretty inconsistent. And even though he has high highs, Prophet's highs are still higher.
Okay.
And he's more consistently at that top level. That's what I want to see from London next week. I want to see those flopped. I'm not expecting it, but I think if they do that, and maybe with a week of practice at Goats, they'll do better. They're playing, I think, Boston. They're playing a weaker team next week. No, they're playing the freaking Washington Justice, first game tonight. So that should be an easy win. If London lose this, panic mode.
Yeah, I can't get my schedule to load up, so I actually have no idea who anybody's playing.
It's definitely the Justice.
Anyways, speaking about bad day to be a London fan, we're Florida boys.
Oof.
It's a bad day to be a Florida fan.
Has it ever been a good day to be a Florida fan?
I mean, it felt okay. You know what? Last year,
Contender season 1.
Contender season 1 felt good, and last year, partway through the season, we started getting better, and then we brought in our Korean.
We beat
people.
the Valiant.
Right. Then we brought in our Korean members, and then we started falling off again.
Yeah.
And it was very confusing. And I feel like Mineral last year was showing that he's able to get us up higher, and he started to get us up higher, and our players started to get better at being on the stage, which is something that they weren't. They were notoriously bad at LAN. But then to come back to season 2, a whole new set of coaches, whole new set of players, basically a whole new set of players, and then the first thing that we see happen to us is us getting dismantled by a Torbjorn.
Oh, gosh.
Why did it have to be that? Like, why couldn't we have been dismantled by anything else first?
I mean, they ran the comp again when they played Philly.
I don't care.
At least it wasn't
I don't want to be the
cheese
first.
like the first
I don't want to be the
like.
first team to get ran over by a Torbjorn.
We were the first team to die to Molten Core in the Overwatch League.
Oh, shut up! I don't care. I don't care. That felt so bad.
That was a rough game. Out of every match we watched, probably that one, and then the only other team that felt as bad was Washington Justice. But Florida did not look good. They did not look coordinated at all, particularly our Curse. I'm guessing, like you brought up Mineral again and his coaching and how it was able to get us far. He doesn't seem to be able to coach tanks. We always seem to have a disconnect, be it Swoosh, be it Awesome Guy, between us and our main tanks.
Right.
And now we've got a new main tank in Swan, and formerly known as Butcher, if you watch back in the day. And
well, I mean,
still,
Swoosh started to look good, and just as Swoosh started to look good, we swapped him in for Awesome Guy, who looked like old Swoosh.
he
looked
looked okay.
It didn't look fantastic. I mean, it looked like what Swoosh had been doing and improving
Right.
was better than what Awesome Guy was putting out.